I've got Dr. Terry Goldsworthy, Associate Professor Criminology, Bond University, on the line. G'day, Terry.
Yeah, hi, John. How are you?
Nothing left in the cupboard, Terry. Surely it's not that desperate.
Well, yeah, it does sound like the kitchen's bare if you read that story. But, look, I mean, this is disappointing to see. Oh, well, it's good to see these emails because we get an insight into the inside workings of government.
Yes.
But it's disappointing in terms of this is how policy is being made up on the run.
Yes.
There's a lack of strategic direction in terms of the policy. There's a lack of basing it on best practice and an evidence base. Clearly, this has just been driven by perceived political pressures, which is something that shouldn't really drive policy. I mean, you need to react to community expectations, but the policy put in place should be one that's sufficient and effective.
I think it's interesting, though, and I think lots of people have put a bit of pressure, if they have an opportunity, on David Crisafulli to give us a bit of a hint of what the LNP has in mind if they take over the government reins in October next year. And, of course, David's very absolutely mum on those matters, but here he's saying the documents are very damning and paint a picture of chaos and crisis, calling for the government to immediately adopt the LNP's youth crime solutions if their youth crime policy cupboard is bare. Well, I can't get much detail on David Crisafulli's plan to bring this nightmare we're enduring out here under control.
Well, that's right. You know, it's one thing to criticise. It's another thing to come up with some kind of solutions. And some of the things that we need to be looking at are, for instance, obviously there's a failure of planning in terms of detention centre ability to hold these young serious repeat offenders. In August last month, or this year, we now know that 76 youth offenders spent 7 or more days in a watch house. And watch houses aren't designed to hold adults, not designed to hold youth offenders for any long periods of time. So there's a failure there. So one of the obvious things which the government is now doing is belatedly building more detention centres. We now know that on the figures for July this year compared to last year, there's 204 less police in the state of Queensland. So, again, there's a lack of planning in terms of ensuring that the police numbers were increasing to where they should be. I mean, if you've got increasing crime, reducing police numbers, it's not hard to figure out what's going to happen. You're going to get less clear-up rates, and that has been proven with the annual report for the GPS that came out last month, that the clear-up rates have dropped across the board.
Two features there I just want to take up with it. Very interesting for us here. We've been promised a detention centre which is in the southern suburbs of our city at Edmonton and with capacity for 50. I mean, seriously, that's like a month's arrest of these kids. The stolen car rate up here is horrendous. Break-and-enters, confrontations, bashings in the CBD. So even if it was Cleveland size, which would be more than double that, I'd imagine, in Townsville, it seemingly would be inadequate. So as much as they're promising a detention centre and smack bang virtually in the middle of the city, everyone says even if we got it, and that would be at least 2 years away, it won't be anywhere near enough. Then you add on top of that 204 less police. So people are in despair up here. Terry?
Well, it does bring into question the leadership, and I'm talking there about the minister and the commissioner. I mean, a lot of people said, it's the Commonwealth Games hangover, a lot of police recruited during the Commonwealth Games. Well, police have to retire at 60. So you can plan to the day when you're going to lose an officer. It's written into legislation. It's not the fact that they all choose to go at one particular time. So there's a workforce planning failure here to recognise that there would be a substantial departure and separation of police. But on top of that, John, not only do you have the people age retiring, the Working for Queensland survey showed that about 50% of police surveyed intended to hang around for less than 2 years, that they wanted to get out. I speak to police every day. I see them when I'm down having coffee, etc. And overwhelmingly, they are so unhappy doing the job they're doing. Really? I've never really heard it like it.
Wow. Well, just before you go, the other aspect, I just took this up actually a little while ago with Mareeba Mayor Angela Toppin. She's been quite courageous on this particular matter. Why she's actually adding in the misery suffered by elderly people who are never mentioned fundamentally. Why? Because they're imprisoned in their own homes. They're terrified to go out now because so many of them are being pushed over with their bags stolen, etc. Some of them getting injuries because they're easily injured at their age. So they become prisoners in their own home. Fundamentally, nobody notices, nobody mentions that aspect of this crime wave.
Well, that's right. And, I note the point there in internal emails about perceptions of crime being managed by these overt patrols, etc. But, the problem is, people don't feel safe in public. There's a survey, the Commonwealth Government Report on Government Services looks at perceptions of safety, and only 32% of people in Australia felt safe outside of the home at night time.
Oh, God.
32%. So, on public transport, it was 53%. So we have a community that is in fear of crime.
Yeah. Yes. Terry, I really appreciate your contributions. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
That's Dr. Terry Goldsworthy, Associate Professor in Criminology at Bond University. 10:25. 846 48.